In this demonstration we'll look at some of the PowerShell and some of the command line utilities we can use to troubleshoot DNS. First thing we're going to do is we've just come over to our client box, and on our client box what we're going to do is we're just going to get some information relating to the DNS server. So we're going to use the get-DNS client server address commandlet. I'm going to use this utility to just return back some information relating to the DNS server. So as we can see at this point here, DNS server is 172.16.0.10. Now what we'll do is just to clear out the cache, just to make sure there's no information left lying around, all we're going to do is clear the DNS client cache. And to do that we're going to issue a clear-DNS client cache, hit the return key, and we've cleared everything out now, so we'll just clear the screen off. Next thing we want to do is we just actually want to come into the server and resolve a DNS name, and to do that we'll use the resolve-DNS name commandlet. And I'm going to do that against lon DC1. Hit return, and we can see the two IP addresses return back. So we can see the IP version 4 and also as well the IP version 6 address. So what we'll do is we'll just send a ping against our London domain controller, and we'll hit the return key. As we can see, we're getting reply back. Now some of the commandlets that will come in useful will be things like checking the DNS client cache, and this actually speeds up resolving names. As we've typed in the get-DNS client cache, we'll just hit the enter key. And as we can see, we now have an entry in here. So the reason why this will speed things up is rather than us having to talk to the DNS server to resolve the IP address, what we'll be able to do as well is just check the local DNS cache. Now one of the things we might do is, let's say this was a dynamically assigned address, what we might find is that even though we've got this record in the DNS cache, what we might find is the IP address may have changed, so we may get a negative response. So we may want to clear out the cache. And we can do that with the clear-DNS client cache. So what we'll do at this point again is we'll just get the client cache, and as we can see, no entries within the cache. So at this point here we'll just clear the screen off. And what we'll do at this point here is we'll just issue another commandlet, which is the get-DNS client global setting. So all we're doing at this point here is if I type in, for example, ping space lon-DC1, DC1 is a member of a datum.com, don't really need to type in a datum.com, and that's because what we have with this global setting is we can see we have a datum.com set. One of the other commandlets that we can issue as well is we may have just applied an IP address to this device, so what we want to do is we want to register this with DNS. And we can do that with the register-DNS client. And that'll go away and just register the IP address with our DNS server. We also have some command line utilities that we can use for also testing and troubleshooting DNS. So what we'll do is we'll just launch up a command prompt. So the first command that we'll issue is just an ipconfig/all. And then we'll hit enter. And the information that we're looking for down here, if we just have a look down, is we're actually looking for, if we just keep checking down, the DNS server address. So we can see the DNS server address at this point here. At this point we'll just clear the screen off, just to make it a little bit easier to read. Now one of the other useful utilities is Nslookup, which will allow us to get information relating to DNS. So we'll go for Nslookup. And what we're interested in here is just finding out the IP address associated with loncl1. So as you can see at this point here, it returns back loncl1.datum.com 172.16.0.50. So we can use this utility to get information from DNS. What we'll do at this point here is we'll now just exit out. And we can also use the command prompt on the DNS server to give us information as well. So at this point here, we'll just move over to the DNS server. And on our DNS server, we'll just launch up a command prompt. On our DNS server, we can configure everything through the graphic user interface, but we also have the DNS cmd command. So we just do that with a question mark. So as you can see, everything that we can do through the graphic user interface, we can also do as well through the command line interface. Won't spend too much time on this, just pointing out really that we can administer DNS from a command line. So let's just clear the screen off. Other commands that we've got as well, if I just do a ping, and then if we just do lon-cl1 and then -4 again, we get a reply back from the London client machine. Now if we want to look at the DNS cache, we've got ipconfig and then /display DNS. And as we can see here, this displays our DNS cache. We'll just scroll up a little bit. So there you go, there's LonCL1. We can also flush out the cache as well, and we can do that by using the ipconfig and then /flush DNS. And then again, if we just have a look at display DNS, so as we can see, the resolver cache has now been cleared out. We can also use ipconfig /register DNS, and that will allow us to register our DNS records. That's the end of this demonstration. Thank you.